Something found you today. Not the algorithm, not chance, not a random scroll that landed nowhere. Something that has been watching the exact distance between where you are and where you are supposed to be decided today, on this Wednesday, May 20th, that you had waited long enough. Put everything down. Whatever you are holding inside yourself, set it down for a moment, not physically. Everything you've been carrying in your chest. The question you keep asking that still doesn't seem to have an answer. The hope that keeps returning no matter how many times the evidence suggests you should release it. The version of your life you keep believing is possible, even when the life you're currently living keeps offering reasons to stop believing. Set it down for a moment, not to abandon it, to finally look at it honestly. Because before I tell you what this Wednesday carries, before I show you what Dolores Cannon discovered in her deepest sessions about why certain days arrive in certain lives with a precision that no coincidence has ever been accurate enough to explain, I need to ask you something. Close your eyes for 4 seconds and ask yourself this from the most unguarded place inside. You, the place that doesn't perform, the place that doesn't explain itself. Is there something I have been asking for, something I have been faithful about, that I am starting to wonder is actually coming? And if something moved inside you just now, if a name surfaced, if a face appeared, if a longing rose without permission from the deepest room inside your soul, then understand this carefully. It is still coming, not as a wish, not as desperation against the evidence, but as the moment you stop allowing the distance between where you are and where you are going to convince you that the journey isn't real. Because today, on this Wednesday, May 20th, something changes. Today is the day you stop letting the weight interpret itself as rejection. Today is the day you stop assuming silence means no. And by the time this message ends, you will understand exactly why this Wednesday was never random. You will understand why this specific day in this specific season of your life was always going to arrive carrying exactly this reminder. Let me begin with something Dolores Cannon confirmed again and again across 4.5 decades of listening to the deepest available layer F human consciousness speak through thousands of people under QHHT hypnosis. There are no accidents in the life of an awakening soul. There are no coincidences in the journey of a consciousness that has reached the threshold of remembering what it actually is. There is only the universe, patient, intelligent, orchestrating with a precision the anxious human mind cannot perceive from inside its urgency, moving things into alignment at the exact moment they are ready to arrive. This Wednesday, this May 20th, this exact day in this exact year of your life, is not where you landed by accident. You were moved here, moved by the same intelligence Dolores spent her entire career listening to, the same intelligence that spoke through thousands of human beings during deep trance sessions, the same voice, the same knowing, the same impossible calm, the same vast love. And again it said the same thing. There are no coincidences. Everything is orchestrated by your soul. Everything. The pause that made you stop, the timing of this message, the exact emotional state you were in before hearing these words, the specific configuration of your life right now, the things you are re-carrying, the things you are praying for, the things you have stayed faithful to long after most people would have given up. All of it organized invisibly with extraordinary precision to bring you to this moment. And this moment is not small. This Wednesday in May is not random timing. May is the season when the world has fully committed to life again. The trees are no longer deciding whether they will bloom. They have bloomed. The earth is no longer cautiously returning from winter. It has returned. Everything that spent months invisible beneath the surface has now crossed the threshold into visibility. And Dolores Cannon found through thousands of sessions that the soul moves through the same rhythms as nature itself. The subconscious described the seasons as energetic mirrors of human awakening. And mid-May carries the frequency of manifestation becoming visible, not possibility, arrival. The crossing point where what was developing invisibly finally begins entering physical reality. That is why you are here today. Not because this is another motivational message, not because you accidentally found another spiritual video, because the universe keeps appointments. And today, kept one with you. Let me tell you about her, because the weight of what I am saying rests on what she discovered. Dolores Cannon was born April 15, 1931, in St. Louis, Missouri. She raised 4 children as a Navy wife. She traveled the world quietly for years with no intention of becoming one of the most important consciousness researchers of the modern era. And then in 1968, everything changed. A hypnosis session with a patient unexpectedly went deeper than memory. Under trance, the woman began speaking from a place beyond personality, beyond ordinary recollection, beyond what Dolores could explain through psychology. The woman accessed information she could not have known consciously. Wisdom began emerging from somewhere far deeper than the surface mind. And instead of dismissing it, Dolores listened. That decision changed the rest of her life. Through what later became QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, Dolores developed a method of bypassing the ordinary thinking mind and communicating directly with what she called the subconscious, not the unconscious mind of psychology. Something infinitely larger, the eternal aspect of a human being, the part permanently connected, to source itself, the part that knows why you came here, the part that can see your entire life at once, the part that has never once doubted the prayer you keep carrying. And through thousands of sessions over 45 years, the same truths continued appearing with impossible consistency across different countries, different cultures, different languages, and different people who had never met each other. The universe is responding to you continuously. Nothing sincere is ignored, and the hopes that refuse to leave your soul are not random emotional attachments. They are signals. Messages from the deeper self that already knows what is unfolding beyond the vision of the surface mind. Dolores found something extraordinary in people who had been waiting a very long time for something meaningful to arrive. People exhausted by the distance between what they believed and what they could physically see. People who had remained faithful through years that offered very little confirmation. And when their higher consciousness was asked what was happening, the answer was almost never what the fearful mind expected. It was never. You haven't believed hard enough. Never. You are being punished. Never. You asked incorrectly. And never. The delay means it isn't meant for you. Instead, the subconscious repeated the same truth so consistently that Dolores eventually stopped being surprised by it. Everything is already in motion. What looks like waiting is preparation. What feels invisible is construction. The soul does not experience delay the way the human mind does. The soul experiences development. And what is being developed during the seasons where nothing seems to happen is the exact internal structure required to receive and sustain what is coming. Nothing real arrives before the soul is ready to hold it. That is why the deepest prayers often take the longest, not because they are being denied, because they are being built correctly. And the part of you that still refuses to completely give up, even after all this time, is not weak. It is remembering something your surface mind cannot yet fully see. You have always known it was coming. Even during the mornings when doubt sounded reasonable. Even during the nights when the silence felt unbearable. Even during the seasons when the evidence looked completely opposite to your faith. Something inside you refused to. Oh, fully release the vision. Dolores asked the subconscious about that specifically. About the people who continue believing despite circumstances that seem to justify surrender. And the subconscious answered with something she repeated publicly for years afterward. The hope that refuses to die is not delusion. It is recognition. The soul remembers what the personality forgets. The deeper self can already see the completed structure before the physical mind can perceive even the foundation. That is why the prayer keeps returning. Because it exists. Because the asking began creating it the moment it became sincere. And because every day you remained faithful added another layer to the invisible architecture of its arrival. There was a woman Dolores once spoke about during one of her lectures. A woman who had been praying for the same transformation for more than 5 years. 5 years of hoping. 5 years of staying open. 5 years of waking up every morning and choosing not to let disappointment become identity. By the time she arrived for her QHHT session, she was exhausted. Not dramatic exhaustion, sacred exhaustion, the kind that belongs to someone who has carried hope carefully. Why for a very long time? And under trance, Dolores asked directly, "Is what she has been asking for real?" And the subconscious answered calmly. It became real the first day she asked. 5 years was not waiting. 5 years was building. The form had to be prepared. The conditions had to align. She has been helping construct the very thing she believes she is still waiting for. And then it said something Dolores never forgot. If she could see what has already been assembled invisibly around her life, she would understand that not a single moment was wasted. The woman cried when Dolores read her the transcript afterward. And then she whispered something so simple Dolores carried it for the rest of her life. "I knew it. Somewhere, I always knew it." And that is what this Wednesday is about. Remembering what you already know beneath the fear. Because there is something important about May 20th specifically. This season is not the beginning anymore. This is the season of visible emergence. Nature itself is demonstrating the exact principle Dolores found inside human consciousness. Everything alive spends a season invisible first. Every bloom spends time underground. Eerie transformation passes through a stage where nothing appears to be happening. But invisible does not mean absent. And delayed does not mean denied. You have been in a winter. Some of you for far longer than anyone around you realizes. The kind where the distance between your inner knowing and your outer reality became painful to carry. The kind where you started wondering whether hope itself was becoming dangerous. But May is the evidence that invisible seasons end. And this Wednesday arrives carrying the exact energetic frequency of emergence. Not symbolic emergence. Actual emergence. The threshold where the invisible begins becoming visible. And the reason this message found you today is because some part of your soul was ready to hear that the process is further along than your fear has been able to perceive. There is something else Dolores discovered repeatedly that almost nobody talks about correctly. The universe responds to frequency before circumstance, not words, not performance. Frequency. And every single time you chose love instead of bitterness, every moment you stayed open instead of shutting down completely, every morning you continued believing quietly despite having reasons not to, you were broadcasting a signal, not metaphorically, energetically. The subconscious described consciousness as electromagnetic, a living field continuously communicating with the intelligence that organizes reality itself. And what the universe responds to most powerfully is coherence, the alignment between what you deeply believe and what you repeatedly embody. That is why pretending never works, and sincerity changes everything. The subconscious told Dolores something extraordinary about sincere human emotion. It said the universe does not respond to performance. It responds to truth, not the truth you say out loud to impress other people. The truth underneath your defenses. The truth that exists in the private moments when nobody is watching you perform certainty. And when a soul continues choosing openness after disappointment, when it continues choosing love after confusion, when it continues choosing possibility after long seasons of silence, something powerful begins happening inside the invisible architecture of reality around that person. The field reorganizes, not eventually, immediately. Because reality itself responds to the frequency of consciousness inhabiting it. This is why Dolores spoke so often about gratitude, not as a trendy spiritual habit, not as forced positivity, not as pretending everything feels good when it doesn't, but as recognition. The subconscious described gratitude as the energetic acknowledgement that love has already been present even before the final manifestation becomes visible. And according to the sessions Dolores conducted, genuine gratitude changes the signal you broadcast more rapidly than almost anything else. Not fake gratitude, not recited affirmations spoken from panic. Real gratitude. The kind that softens something inside your chest because you suddenly recognize evidence that the universe has already been moving in your direction long before your mind admitted it. That is why on this Wednesday, May 20th, I want you to think about 3 moments from your actual life, not abstract blessings, specific evidence. The unexpected phone call, the person who stayed when everyone else disappeared, the morning you woke up and something heavy was strangely lighter, the opportunity that arrived at the exact moment you needed it, the random encounter that quietly changed your direction. EE moments, 3 pieces of evidence that life has not been indifferent to you. Because Dolores confirmed again and again that the universe mirrors the emotional frequency you continuously inhabit. And gratitude is one of the highest frequencies available to a human being still inside physical form. Not because gratitude manipulates reality, because gratitude recognizes reality more honestly. The love was already there. The movement was already happening. The preparation was already unfolding invisibly. You simply had not fully seen it yet. This Wednesday is about finally seeing it. And once you begin recognizing what has already been unfolding around you, something changes. The nervous system softens. Fear loosens its grip. The desperate timeline collapses. And for the first time in a long time, your soul stops broadcasting panic into the field around your life. That matters more than most people realize. Because the subconscious explains something Dolores considered one of the most important discoveries of her entire career. The miracle arrives most naturally when resistance ends. Not effort. Resistance. The fear-based insistence that constantly asks, "Where is it? Why isn't I there yet? What if it never comes?" Those questions do not speed arrival, they distort frequency. They keep consciousness emotionally anchored in absence. But gratitude changes the signal completely. Gratitude says, "I recognize movement already exists. I acknowledge that something has been unfolding even before I could physically confirm it." And according to the subconscious, that recognition aligns consciousness with the reality it has been asking to enter. You have to understand something carefully now. The soul does not measure time the way the personality does. The personality says, "It has been too long." The soul says, "It is unfolding precisely." The personality says, "I must have missed something." The soul says, "Nothing real can miss you." The personality interprets silence as abandonment. The soul recognizes silence as construction. Dolores heard this repeatedly across decades of sessions. Human beings think they are waiting for life to begin, but the subconscious described the waiting itself as part of the becoming. The exact experiences you thought were delaying your path were often the very experiences preparing you for it. Not punishment. Preparation. Because, the version of you capable of sustaining what is coming could only be formed through exactly the journey you resisted. Every disappointment taught depth. Every delay developed capacity. Every season of uncertainty expanded the part of you capable of recognizing what truly matters. You are not the same person who first asked for this prayer. You couldn't be. The asking changed you. The faithfulness changed you. The long carrying changed you. And according to Dolores Cannon's findings, that transformation was not accidental. It was necessary. The subconscious described incarnation itself as intentional. Souls choose experiences based on what those experiences will awaken within consciousness, not random suffering. Purposeful evolution. And what feels from inside the experience like being forgotten is often the soul moving through the exact conditions required to become what it came here to become. You are not behind in your life. You are inside it. Exactly where your soul intended you to be. That does not mean every painful thing was good. It means none of it was meaningless. And today, this Wednesday, May 20th, arrives as a point of recognition, a threshold moment, a crossing, the moment you stop interpreting your journey through the eyes of fear and begin seeing it through the eyes of the deeper intelligence that has been guiding you from the beginning. Dolores said something in her later lectures that people rarely fully understood. She said, "Humanity has forgotten how powerful consciousness really is. Not positive thinking, not fantasy, consciousness. The emotional and energetic orientation through which a human being experiences reality." And she found through thousands of sessions that the subconscious consistently described consciousness as creative, not symbolic. Creative. The field responds to it. Reality organizes around it. That is why hopelessness becomes self-perpetuating, and that is why genuine faith changes trajectories. Not because the universe rewards good behavior, because consciousness itself participates in creation. Every thought carries frequency. Every emotion broadcasts information. Every belief shapes orientation. And eventually your reality begins reflecting the dominant emotional atmosphere you continuously inhabit. That is why this Wednesday matters. Because today is not about begging the universe for permission anymore. Today is about recognition. Recognition that the process has already begun. Recognition that your prayer has already entered motion. Recognition that the reason it refuses to leave your soul is because the deeper self already knows it exists. You have mistaken invisibility for absence, but the subconscious described invisible seasons as some of the most active periods of creation. The seed underground appears inactive, but underground entire worlds are forming. Roots are developing. Structures are assembling. Life is organizing itself beneath the surface long before the bloom becomes visible. And then one morning everything changes at once. That is how manifestation often works according to the subconscious, not gradually. Suddenly, the way spring seems to arrive overnight. One day the world still looks asleep, and then suddenly everything is alive. The people Dolores worked with described their breakthroughs exactly that way. Unexpected calls, instant openings, rapid shifts, synchronistic meetings, opportunities appearing from directions they never could have planned logically. And when Dolores asked why manifestation sometimes appears sudden after long waiting periods, the subconscious, us answered clearly. Because the visible arrival is only the final stage. Most of the creation happened invisibly first. That is where many of you are right now, closer than you realize. Not because I am trying to comfort you, because this exact emotional configuration was described repeatedly in Dolores Cannon's work. The exhaustion that arrives immediately before breakthrough, the feeling that faith is becoming difficult to sustain right before visible confirmation appears. The subconscious described it almost like pressure before emergence, the final stage before expansion. And that is why this message found you now instead of earlier. Because the version of you hearing these words today is not the same version who would have heard them a year ago. Something has changed in you. Something has matured. Something has deepened. And the universe responds differently once the internal structure is finally ready. That is why the timing matters. This Wednesday, this May 20th, this exact point in your journey. Not random, orchestrated, because there are moments when the distance between asking and receiving collapses. Dolores documented this repeatedly. The subconscious described converg, NC points, moments where the soul's development, emotional readiness, energetic alignment, and external circumstances suddenly intersect. And when they do, life changes rapidly. Not because the universe suddenly noticed you, because the process completed itself. That is the part most people misunderstand. The miracle is not the beginning of creation. The miracle is the visible confirmation of what was already being created invisibly all along. And according to Dolores, the soul always knows when that threshold is close. That is why intuition intensifies. That is why synchronicities increase. That is why certain messages seem to appear repeatedly. Because consciousness begins sensing the shift before physical reality fully catches up. And maybe that is exactly where you are now, standing closer than ever before, while fear tries one final time to convince you that distance means impossibility. But distance has never meant impossibility. It only meant incompletion. And completion arrives when the soul is finally capable of receiving without resistance. That is why surrender matters. Not surrender as giving up. Surrender as trust. The release of panic, the ending of obsessive control. The willingness to stop demanding immediate proof before allowing yourself to believe in movement. Because according to the subconscious, receiving begins the moment resistance ends. And this is where most people unknowingly block the very thing they have been asking for. Not because they are bad, not because the universe is punishing them, because they keep checking the soil every day to see whether the seed has grown. And in doing so, they remain emotionally anchored to the absence of the bloom instead of the certainty of its development. Dolores Cannon said something that sounded simple on the surface, but carried enormous depth underneath it. She said, "The subconscious already knows the timing, already knows the structure, already knows the path your soul chose before you arrived here." And according to the session she conducted across 4.5 decades, the deeper self never panics about the future the way the personality does. Because it can already see beyond the current moment. It sees the connections you cannot yet see. It sees the people moving toward your life before you meet them. It sees the opportunities forming before they become visible. It's ease the doors opening before the physical mind notices movement at all. And most importantly, it sees the version of you that is emerging through this entire process. That is why the subconscious repeatedly described faith differently than religion usually does. Not blind belief, recognition. The soul recognizing something before the physical senses can confirm it. That is why certain dreams refuse to leave you. That is why some visions survive years of contradiction. That is why your deepest prayer still returns during quiet moments, no matter how much logic tries to dismiss it. The deeper self remembers what the smaller self temporarily forgets. And today, on this Wednesday, May 20th, you are being asked to stop treating your deepest knowing like a problem that needs to be argued against. Because the exhaustion you feel is not proof the dream is false. Sometimes exhaustion is simply proof that you have carried something sacred for a very long time. And according to Dolores Cannon's work, souls who carry long faithfulness are never unseen, never forgotten, never abandoned. The subconscious described the universe as responsive in ways the human mind cannot fully measure. Every sense, re-emotion, every act of love, every moment of courage, every refusal to become bitter, all of it enters the field. All of it matters. Nothing genuine disappears. And if you could see your life from the perspective of the subconscious described, if you could step outside linear time for one moment and observe the invisible architecture surrounding your journey, you would realize something astonishing. You are far more supported than you think, far more guided than you realize, far more connected than fear allows you to perceive. That is why Dolores constantly reminded people not to shrink themselves. Fear shrinks, doubt contracts. But the soul expands through openness, and the subconscious consistently described expansion as the natural state of consciousness aligned with truth. Not force, not struggle, expansion. The willingness to allow yourself to become larger than the identity built from disappointment. Many of you have unconsciously built identities around waiting, around delay, around disappointment, around almost receiving. And because the identity became familiar, the nervous system started treating limitation as safety. But this Wednesday carries a different invitation. To stop identifying with the waiting and begin identifying with the becoming. Because you are not the person abandoned by life. You are the person being transformed by it. And there is an enormous difference between those two stories. One contracts consciousness, the other opens it. Dolores found repeatedly that the subconscious responds most strongly when a human being finally becomes emotionally honest, not spiritually impressive. Honest. Honest about what they desire, honest about what they fear, honest about what they still hope for despite everything. Because sincerity creates coherence, and coherence changes the frequency you broadcast into reality itself. That is why hidden desires remain heavy. The subconscious already knows them. The universe already feels them. Pretending they don't exist only creates internal conflict. But when you finally acknowledge them openly, something relaxes inside consciousness. Energy stops splitting in opposite directions. And according to the sessions Dolores conducted, reality reorganizes more rapidly around coherent consciousness than almost anything else. That is why this Wednesday matters so deeply. This is not about superstition. This about emotional alignment. The moment where the surface self stops fighting the deeper self's knowing. And when that happens, movement accelerates. Dolores described people who experienced dramatic life changes immediately after reaching this point internally. Not because they suddenly learned a magical technique, because resistance ended. The subconscious explained that fear often delays manifestation, not because fear is evil, but because fear continuously broadcasts contradiction. One part of consciousness asks for expansion, while another part braces for disappointment. One part prays, while another part secretly prepares for failure. That internal conflict weakens the signal. But the moment sincerity becomes stronger than fear, the field changes. And many of you are closer to that moment right now than you realize. You can feel it. That strange tension between exhaustion and anticipation. like something inside you knows change is near even while your logical mind keeps demanding proof. That sensation matters. Dolores encountered it constantly in clients right before major breakthroughs. The subconscious described it as the consciousness beginning to sense alignment before sickle manifestation fully arrives, like pressure building before rainfall, like dawn beginning before sunrise becomes visible. And the reason this message is reaching you now is because some deeper layer of your being is ready to stop interpreting delay as denial. The soul never interpreted it that way. Only the fearful personality did. The soul understood the timing from the beginning. The soul understood the construction process. The soul understood why certain seasons had to unfold exactly the way they did. And one day the personality catches up. One day the surface mind suddenly realizes that what looked random was preparation. What looked painful was development. What looked empty was invisibly full. That realization changes everything. Because once consciousness stops resisting the process, it can finally participate in it fully. And participation is powerful. Dolores Cannon believed humanity dramatically underestimates its role in creation. Not control over every detail. Participation through frequency, participation through emotional orientation, participation through the courage to remain open in a world that constantly teaches people to close themselves. Love just is. T was one of the phrases she repeated more than almost anything else in her later years. Love just is. Not sentimental love, not temporary emotion. The foundational intelligence beneath existence itself. And according to the subconscious, every sincere prayer is fundamentally an attempt to move closer to alignment with that love. Even material desires often hide deeper emotional longings underneath them. Safety, connection, freedom, peace, belonging, expansion. The soul is always moving toward greater alignment with life itself. That is why completely giving up on your deepest vision often feels impossible. Because the soul itself continues pulling toward expansion even when the personality grows tired. And maybe that exhaustion has reached its limit now. Maybe this Wednesday marks the point where you finally stop carrying your hope like something embarrassing. Maybe this is the day you stop apologizing internally for still believing. Because according to Dolores Cannon's work, the souls who continued believing quietly through long seasons of uncertainty were often the closest to visible transformation. Not because belief earned rewards, because sustained faithfulness transformed the consciousness itself. It developed depth, patience, resilience, emotional capacity, and eventually the external reality reflected the internal evolution that had already occurred. That is what manifestation truly is according to the subconscious. External reality catching up with internal truth. Not fantasy becoming real. Truth becoming visible. And the reason this message found you specifically on Wednesday, May 20th, is because some part of you is ready to hear that your life may be far more aligned than your fear has been willing to admit. You are not forgotten. You are not late. You are not abandoned. And you are not carrying this prayer alone. Because throughout every season you thought you were carrying this by yourself. Something larger was moving beside you the entire time. That is one of the deepest truths Dolores Cannon said emerged from thousands of hypnosis sessions across her lifetime of work. Human beings believe they are isolated. The subconscious says they are connected continuously, guided continuously, observed continuously by an intelligence rooted in love rather than punishment. And once people truly understand that, once they stop imagining the universe as distant or indifferent, something inside them begins relaxing for the first time in years. That relaxation matters, because according to the subconscious, peace is not passive, peace is alignment. The nervous system finally stopping its war against reality, the soul no longer fighting itself, and the moment that internal war ends, energy becomes available again, clarity returns, intuition sharpens, movement begins accelerating. That is why some of the biggest transformations in human lives happen immediately after surrender. Not surrender as defeat, surrender as trust. The willingness to stop gripping the future with fear long enough for consciousness to reconnect with its natural state. The subconscious described the natural state of consciousness as abundance, not lack, expansion, not contraction. Love, not fear. Fear, according to Dolores Sessions, is learned, conditioned, installed through painful experiences and repeated disappointments. But underneath the conditioning, consciousness itself remains connected to something infinitely larger than fear. That is why moments of deep peace can appear suddenly even during difficult seasons. That peace is not denial. It is remembered. Rants. The soul briefly remembering what it actually is beneath survival patterns. And maybe you have felt those moments before. Moments where something inside you suddenly became still. Moments where, for no logical reason at all, you felt certain everything would somehow work out. Moments where the fear disappeared briefly and left behind something calmer, older, wiser. Dolores believed those moments were glimpses of the higher self moving closer to the surface of awareness. And according to the subconscious, those moments are not imaginary. They are more real than the fear. Because fear belongs mostly to the conditioned personality. But peace belongs to the deeper self. That is why this Wednesday is not about forcing belief. It is about remembering what the deeper self already knows. You have spent enough time interpreting your life through fear. Enough time measuring possibility only through visible evidence. Enough time assuming delay means rejection. Today asks something different from you, not effort. Permission. Permission to stop resisting the possibility that things are unfolding more intelligently than your anxious mind can currently perceive. Because if Dolores confirmed anything consistently across thousands of sessions, it was this. The universe is always moving, always responding, always organizing around consciousness. And what appears still from one perspective is often intensely active from another. The subconscious repeatedly compared manifestation to invisible construction. Imagine walking through a city while an enormous building is being constructed underground beneath your feet. From the surface, nothing appears to be happening. People continue their ordinary routines, unaware of the enormous work unfolding invisibly below them. But eventually the structure reaches the surface, and suddenly everyone calls it sudden. Yet nothing about it was sudden. The visible emergence was simply the final stage of a process that had already been underway for a very long time. That is where many souls give up too early, right before emergence, right before visibility, right before the underground construction reaches the surface of physical reality. And the subconscious described this as one of the great tragedies of human fear. People abandon their belief because they cannot yet see what is already in motion. But your soul knew something important. Really, when it led you here today, it knew you needed this reminder before fear convinced you to close again. Because once consciousness closes completely, it stops participating openly in creation. The field contracts, possibility narrows, and life begins reflecting that contraction back. But openness changes everything, even slight openness. Even the willingness to believe one more time. That willingness creates movement. And according to Dolores Cannon's findings, movement itself is deeply important. Because stagnant emotional energy creates stagnation in experience, but hopeful openness creates flow. That does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means refusing to let pain become your final identity. You are not your disappointment. You are not your delay. You are not the worst thing that happened to you. You are consciousness evolving through experience. And the subconscious described every difficult season as temporary compared to the vastness of the soul itself. The soul is ancient, far older than this single chapter, far wiser than this current confusion. And because it sees beyond linear time, it understands that some seasons only make sense afterward. That is why. People often look back years later and suddenly understand why certain delays happened, why certain doors stayed closed, why certain relationships ended, why certain paths collapsed. At the time it felt devastating. Later it revealed itself as redirection, protection, preparation. The subconscious described this repeatedly. Human beings judge experiences too quickly because they see only isolated moments. The soul sees trajectories, patterns, long-term unfoldings. And when consciousness reconnects with that broader perspective, trust becomes easier. Not blind trust, earned trust. The kind born from realizing life has already carried you through things you once thought would destroy you. Look at yourself honestly for a moment. You survived seasons you thought would break you completely. You adapted to realities you once believed you could never endure. You continued moving even when your heart was exhausted. That strength did not appear by accident. It was developed. And according to the subconscious, nothing developed through sincere experience is ever wasted. Every lesson remains inside consciousness permanently. Every act of courage expands the soul's capacity. Every refusal to erranda completely strengthens the deeper self's expression through physical form. That is why the waiting changed you. You are more aware now, more emotionally deep, more spiritually honest, more capable of recognizing what actually matters, and perhaps most importantly, more capable of receiving, because receiving requires openness, not just desire. And many people desire miracles while remaining emotionally closed to them. Closed by fear, closed by bitterness, closed by the expectation of disappointment. But the long journey you have walked has slowly been teaching you something different. Softness, surrender, trust. The ability to remain open despite uncertainty. That ability is sacred according to Dolores Cannon's work, because openness allows consciousness to align naturally with the reality it seeks to enter. That is why the subconscious emphasized feeling so strongly, not forced emotion, embodied feeling, the emotional state of already being connected to what you seek. Because the subconscious described feeling as communication with the field itself. Your emotional state continuously informs reality, what kind of experience you are prepared to receive. Fear communicates concerning, traction. Love communicates openness. Trust communicates readiness. And gratitude communicates recognition. Recognition that life has already been responding to you even before the final evidence appears. This Wednesday is about stepping into that recognition fully, not halfway. Fully. The recognition that your prayer matters, your vision matters, your hope matters, and the fact that it still lives inside you after everything means something important. The soul does not continue carrying what is meaningless. It carries what is aligned. And maybe the deepest reason this message found you now is because some part of you was finally ready to stop treating your deepest knowing like a fantasy and start treating it like guidance. Because guidance often feels exactly like longing before manifestation arrives. The soul pulls toward what belongs to its expansion long before the physical world catches up. That pull is sacred. Do not betray it simply because the timeline frightened you. The universe has not forgotten you. The process has not stopped, and this Wednesday, May 20th, was never random. It was a reminder, a threshold, a moment where the deeper self reached through the noise of fear, and said clearly, "Keep going. It is still unfolding, and you are closer than you think."